Yo, yo, what's up, Ryan? Ah, man, crazy day. Didn't do much with quads at all. Kind of got back to playing around with my nano goblins, so I've been messing around with freaking INAV all day. So, that's life. Sometimes things go good, sometimes they go bad. So, how's everything going down there in the nice warm weather? Humid weather. It's warm and humid here. It's got to be crazy down there. Well, it's the holiday, and I don't know how many people are going to jump on here. And I just want to kind of go through this real quick because I tried to make a video a couple times, and there's just so much to cover. But figured I'd get some people on here so if they want to ask some questions, just kind of go through my experience with Plasmatree. So I'm not sure if any of you out there have used this before or not, but raining, yeah. It rained here a little bit today too. So Ryan, I don't know if you know about this thing, this Plasmatree thing that everybody's been using and looking at and stuff. Like if you've been around the web and been seeing like pictures like this anywhere. Like I've been seeing them a lot, you know, with the Helio stuff that I've been doing. Alright. So what Plasmatree is basically, I think, an awesome, easy way to get a tune. Like I've got 3 awesome tunes on, one on my Helio Reverb, one on my Epic, and one on my 5.5-inch Proton. So, Caden, if you need some help, this is definitely where it's at. So evidently this program has been out for a while, and it's kind of had a resurgence lately just because, you know, a lot of people really didn't tune for a while. They just kind of like went by feel and this and that. And like if you're a racer, you kind of wanted one thing, and maybe you got like a buddy's tune and everything like that. And I'm guilty of it too. I pretty much just a tune where I would get a decent flight and put D to it to like smooth out my video and just kind of work around things, play with notches a little bit, and just kind of hope that the software does everything itself. But when we're dealing with, like, you know, and this is beta flight too, but dealing with the Helio, like the Helio's got that separate processor, so it's just capable of so much more. So a lot of the people on the test group and everything else have been pulling this thing out and using this. So basically, you go to the GitHub up here and you download the analyzer, and if you scroll down here, there's like 2 different files that you have to download, this one and this one. And like all you do is just make a folder. I called it Plasmatree. Alright, so then everything you have is in there, everything from one folder, and then the executable. And you launch the executable, and it only works on PC right now. I guess it works on Mac or whatever. The one thing about it is you got to have an internet connection, because it connects to like a server and analyzes stuff, I think, is how it works. So you go out, fly, get your black box logs, bring them back in and everything like that. And then you run this program, and what it does is it ends up giving you like these graphs that are like super simple, easy to read. It's not like this crap, which, like, you know, like, does it, I don't understand this stuff. Like, I've watched so many videos for so many hours, and D leading P and this and that and everything else. The only thing that I used this for, which I think is still kind of handy, even though this Plasmatree does it too, is the whole noise level thing where you can tune your notch filters a little bit better. So, you know, I still use this, and I haven't used tuned and black box for probably at least 1.5 years to 2 years, maybe going back to like last year with race flight. So I've basically just been tuning by going in and out of my front door, coming back and seeing how my video looks. So anyway, after this program's done loading, alright, there's a couple guys that have already done some YouTubes on this you can search for, but you know, some of them are just kind of like too long and everything like that, I think. So I wanted to just do a short and concise type of thing. You basically just take it over there and drop it over there, press enter. I want to make sure I'm in the window here. Come on. There we go. Type your name. My name's Chad. And do you want it to open up your plots when you're done? Yes. Okay. So it's going to take like a minute or two to like run and analyze and everything like that. And when it's done, you're going to get like 2 graphs. And when it pops up, like, we'll talk about the graphs, and you'll be able to see just kind of how easy it is to look at. So, in fact, we'll go ahead and just look at this one. So, I just want to make sure everybody's looking at here and catch up on the chat so I don't miss nothing. Yeah, black box is just BS, man. And I don't even think that, like, some of the people that talk about it even know what they're talking about. And every situation that I've watched from the biggest YouTube black box person, I mean, none of it applies. Like, all of the examples that I think are ever given are just horrible. I mean, nobody flies like that. Nobody just does that. Like, it just doesn't make any sense. Like, all of my tuning flights are like real flights, and this analyzes the whole data. He's got like a method written out on how you're supposed to do it. And it's kind of like the stingy method where you just like hover for like 30 to 45 seconds and make like fast movements and stuff and record data. But I didn't find it very useful. So, and you know, like drop your D's and I's all the way down and all that kind of stuff. Like, that's just a waste of time. Like, start with like your default tune, start with whatever you're using now, and try going from there, because that's what I did, and I've had like really good success. So let's see here. So it's done now. So it made 2 graphs. So it made like your squiggly line graph that we're used to looking at, and then it made like the noise graph. We'll just talk about the squiggly line graph here. That this like is an example that would be kind of like what this looks like here with our PIDs. So it's pretty simple to look at. It really makes things easy. So you have to do a couple things before you set up. You need to set your set point to 0, and you need to turn VBAC compensation on. And you know, if you like running anti-gravity, that's fine. You could run it and play with it, but I would suggest turning it off, because this thing does such a good job of getting your stuff dialed in that you really don't even need to use anti-gravity. So this is the tune that I have on my long-range Epic. Okay? And, well, wait a minute. No, it says reverb 1. That's not right, because I know... Well, wait a minute. This might be reverb. Okay, so this is like a hover flight, because you can see I'm only using so much throttle. So we'll take a look at this here. Everything on here is roll. This is pitch, and this is yaw. Alright, and this here is how well your gyro is tracking your set points, which is kind of like something that's really important that I've watched a couple of the big YouTubers' set point videos, and they don't make really any sense the way he explains it. And I don't want to get into like all this black box stuff, but you just gotta like look at it or you're not gonna understand. So if we do set point roll and we do gyro roll, so basically these lines are supposed to track each other all the time, like this. Like, you want these lines as close together as possible, and when one starts falling off from the other, whether set point is leading gyro or gyro is leading set point, then that basically has to do with how you adjust your p-values. Granted, you have like low enough D's and you don't have a super noisy environment that you can capture that data. So if we look at like my little test hover graph here, this is what we were looking at right there in black box. So anywhere where we don't see orange overlapping blue, that means that we have issues. So this looks like super clean except for something right here. Now the response time here, this basically has to do with like how fast the PID loop is responding, I guess, to like the throttle. So you want to see like as close to a blue shade as possible. Like when you start seeing little yellows and stuff like that, there'll be a little bit of issues, but you know, you're going to have some of it anyway. Like, keep in mind, this is like a 30-second hover. So, and I did, you know, it obviously I used throttle around in here and maybe some up in here, but it just didn't count it because it can't count all the PID loops fast enough. So according to him, what you want is you want two type of graphs down here. You want something like this, which this is a little bit strong, where this is basically P coming up nice and sharp to around 1.25, and then you want it to come down and you want it to settle around 1 as much as possible, just like there on roll and just like here on pitch. Y'all is kind of just supposed to go up and over. It's not supposed to like overshoot, and it's supposed to stay right there on 1. So that's P. So the cool thing about that is that's way easier to see and understand than the things that you see in black box. The other thing is that eye gains are totally simple, because a perfect eye gain, this line will hover around 1. So you can see here my eye gains look pretty good. Right here I might be a little high. I can maybe bump them down a couple notches. Right here it could go up a couple notches, and I need to raise P up a little bit there. So everybody all right? Not blowing over everybody here? I'll wait a second here for the chat to catch up here. I mean, this is simple. This stuff really works, man. Like, I've been doing this for 4 or 5 years now, and I've never really been so excited about, like, I never thought the quads could fly as good as they did. And the thing is like, I had so much D in there, and I didn't even need it. Like, I just put D in there to smooth out my video, but the problem is that when you get everything okay, like, you're all good. Alright, good question, Caden. Alright, so that's, the fuzzy lines is like the margin of error, is what they call it. And so the margin of error looks pretty decent right in here. Like, this isn't noise. Don't think of this as noise. we've got a separate noise graph right here, which I haven't studied it much at all because I still think that this one here makes more sense to me as far as like if I'm going to use a D-term notch, which I usually just turn it off on it. If I was flying a 5-inch Betaflight quad, I would turn it off, but I'm only flying like 5.5-inch 5S stuff now, so I kind of need a D-term notch on there just to kind of kill that noise. And with 6-inch, you're definitely going to need it too. With Helio, they have a D-term notch on there, and RS2K says that he wants the D-term notch there because he believes that it needs to be there in order to just work with things. I don't know. I listen to what he says because he made multi-shot and air mode and everything else, so, and race flight, and so he's a lot smarter than I am. So, alright, so let's take a look at a couple other pictures. So this is pretty straight and easy to look at. So let's go and look at, so that was like, say, my first hover. So let's go and look at like, oh, I don't know. Let's go and look at how things went like, whoops, crap, like 7 flights into it or something. And that'll be right here. Alright, so now things start to look a little crazier. And you can look, if we go back and look, okay, here is my, we'll look at my reverb PIDs. Okay, 50, 45, 8, 75, 45, 13, 50, 55, 8. And here we are at 60, 40, 16, 70, 42, and 18, and 90, and 70, and 8. So we'll start up at the top here. You can see that everything is traveling pretty close. I'm starting to peek out. There's little peaks of blue that are here and there where the gyro is starting to overshoot the PID loop. So that could be a little too much D, causing the gyro to go a little crazy, or it could be a little too much P. But this is very minuscule. Like, you don't even notice this or feel this or nothing. And then here's y'all. I mean, look at y'all. Look sweet. Look how high my y'all PIDs and I and stuff like that are. Get out of here. So, and I just keep raising them. But it's cool because you start to see the relation how all this stuff works when you start playing with it, because it's just so hard to visualize and do all this in black box. But when you start, like, when you make, like, say 2 changes here, a change here, and 2 changes here, and then you go fly and do another black box, and you come back and you see how they have all kind of changed each other. And then you go in here and check out your noise. And this is pretty cool because you don't really need to go back into here. I'd say if you do 10 tuning flights, you'll definitely be way tuned, like dialed in. But probably after your 5th or 6th flight, you probably you'll already squash your noise enough down to where you'll definitely need to know where to set like your notch if you're using a notch in Betaflight, or if you're just turning them all off, whatever. With Helio, you know, you just don't worry about it because we've just been told not to. So once you get to that point, so now you see some other stuff. So you see there's a little bit more margin of error, and that's because we're using a lot more throttle now. And you can also see that the thing that creates the margin of error is these 2 roll step responses here. So you know how when you set your rates, you have like so many degrees per second? Well, this blue line represents slow stuff, less than 500 degrees per second. And these orange lines represent moves that are greater than 500 degrees per second. So these are like, you know, my aggressive flights that like I'm flying. So technically you could try to like get both of them as close together as you can, but you really don't have to. At least I haven't noticed. As long as they are kind of doing like the same thing. Like if you look at my roll P here, they're both coming up, hitting 1.25, overshooting a little bit, coming down, staying around 1, and then just kind of moving up and down. And up and, you know, remember, up and down and variable is different than your true oscillating sine wave. Like, if it was actually oscillating, then we would know we would be way too high on our P's. Come back over here. Alright, let's see. So how do you know about D? Alright, you know about D because of how smooth that is, and you also know about D because of your gyro. If you have too much D in there, then it's going to mess up your gyros. Like, that's just all there is to it. Like, if we go and look at, let's open up, we'll open up like my first, let's open up like the first tune from that. From that Odin build, and I'll show you like smoothing on. Wait a minute. Clean flight. Ah, hold on. I wonder why that looks so different. Beta flight. Open. Reverb 1. Alright. Trying to show you let's get rid of that and let's add, no, let's not add anything. It's probably going to be hard to see, but there's, like, if you look at like certain areas right here, and since this is just a, well, I know why you can't really see this. This is a freaking, here. Let's look at a real flight here. That was just a hover flight. Let's try to get some messy stuff looking here. All right, there we go. So we'll look at the roll gyro, and we will look at roll D. And see how those two are mimicking each other right there? Like, if that's all you see all the way through here, that those are mimicking each other, like constantly, or even worse than this right here, then you know that you've got too much D going on, or not enough P, or you just need to make a lot more changes. All right. So hopefully that helps, Ryan. So like you can still go back and forth, you know, like you can get as clean of a look, like, you know, the perfect case scenario is you would have like a super straight line here like you would on yaw, you know, but you're not going to get that. You know, we're always going to have some kind of issues and stuff here. But the biggest thing is back to like what, you know, the big dogs say is you don't want to see like any like super like repetitive oscillations going on anywhere. And then you can always go back into black box like this and look at stuff. So you can see on this one that my D term still looks pretty bad. So if we open, like let's go and open, this should be the tune that I'm running now. Black box 21. Let's look at what 21 looks like down here. Alright. Yeah. I backed this one down. Because see, everything started kind of like flip-flopping and stuff on me here. So I went from 21, and I'm pretty sure that I took my PIDs back down. Yep. I took my PIDs back down to right here, the ones at 20. This is kind of like that fine-tuning thing. 62, 72, 105, 90, and 8. So, pitch is always great on my reverb. Like, you can see when I'm doing the orange, the fast stuff, I mean, look how smooth that line is right there. You know, just a tad bit of an oscillation right there, but that is like smooth, right on, perfect eye. So, you know, when I'm cruising forward or moving around and I'm not doing much, you know, the PID loop is working harder. But when I'm doing like high maneuvers and fast stuff, like I have like great control. So obviously here, and I'm going to get back to it. I mean, honestly, I got a little burned out on it, and I got acceptable and happy stuff, and then I moved on to like another quad because I was so happy with the way things were going. But you can see we go back to like, you know, the noise thing here, and you know, it's kind of chopped up a little bit in here, a little bit more, and in here y'all looks good, but you can see there's little peaks of blue kind of stepping out, but you know, it's not too crazy. So my P should come up at a straight line right there and come back down. It shouldn't be kind of crooked like this. It should look more like it did in the other line. But obviously in this flight I didn't do like super roll maneuvers because either that or it just didn't like capture them, because I should have an orange line here. So P gain, slight overshoot to like 125, come down, kind of settle down, like this is okay. No like perfect oscillation. Around 1, that's your eye. You know, if you're down here, you want to raise it, lower it, which you can see. Look at my yaw. My yaw eye is at 90. I mean, I could go up even higher or try to get even higher with the Helio Odin if I wanted to. But I just decided that I didn't want to. And, you know, if you subscribe to me or whatever, I mean, go look at that last video. I did a video in bright light, like high noon sun, and at golden hour. And, like, there's just, like, super, like, the lightest type of any kind of, like, oscillations or micro problems that you could find. So, and believe me, like, I freaking zoom in with my footage and look at it, and if it makes me happy, then I'm totally happy with it. Some people will say, well, you need to do this or you need to do that, or they shit all over like Helio. I don't know why people are so like against like open source, like some closed source stuff. Like, I'm not against it as long as it works. At least I know they're out there testing it, making it work. They're not like my iNav issues that I'm having, and I post responses and nobody answers, or they ask you the most basic, simple question that that it's almost like an idiot asking. So, Caden, are you running? All right, we gotta ask a couple questions real quick. Are you getting just mid throttle oscillations, or are you getting jello and mid throttle oscillations? I will tell you that when I first started flying it, I was flying with 4.8 props, and I jumped down to 50/40s, and like my noise like went from like 400 and some hertz down to like something in the notch that was like 200 and some. So you're getting both. Okay. I would work on your tune with this and see what you can do. Are you running? What version of Helio are you running? Are you running Odin, or are you running one of the builds that you downloaded from Betaflight, like RC8 or RC9? Yeah, I saw you put your cues like way down. So, which, ironically enough, if you put your cues all the way down, I mean, that means that you're like actually increasing filtering like crazy. So, which is going to take away with, yeah, you always got to do the iMuff update. So, I got a pretty successful tune on RC8. I never went to 9, I went from 8 to Odin, and RC8 felt freaking awesome. And I never even really I didn't do nothing like this. I just kind of like worked on it myself and got it going. But first thing you need to do is you need to get yourself an ND filter. Everybody runs with ND filters now. If you want good video, just get one of the stick-on like ND8s and get a couple, because they're kind of hard to stick on there, and put them on there. Like, don't let anybody tell you that it's cheating, because everybody uses them now. It just gives you the best. You need a little bit of blur in that GoPro footage. You just need it, so that way you can fly more times. Like, if you didn't have an ND filter, then like the only time that we could really fly is like at certain times. And the whole point is we're always going to have some kind of vibration in the quad, and we got to kind of match the vibration with the actual speed of the rolling shutter, so that way you don't get the jello and the oscillations as much. But the biggest thing that I found is that when I started working on the tune, that's when the noise and stuff started going like way down. Like, I wish I had my other logs. We can take a look at it here and see, but let's see here. Graph setup. Move graph, add graph, gyros. Alright, so here is my gyro noise after I got done with all my tuning. And you see how skinny the lines are and everything. Like, I didn't make any changes to the filter or nothing like that at all. I did make Q changes, but I'm talking about like notch filtering or anything like that. And then if we go all the way back and like, I don't know, let's look at this one and let's see how thick these lines are. They should be thicker and noisier. Oh, that's a hover. That's not going to be noisy. Alright. So there's that roll gyro just totally freaking giving me just mad problems. In fact, you know what? It just looks so much better in, it's so much easier for some reason to see in the butterfly one. They've got this built into here now for a reason. So let's just start it and look at it. Alright. Easy to see now. So it's real obvious to see what's going on right here. So look at this roll access. So, you know, we want our gyros to be as smooth as possible. Let's get rid of y'all because it'll make everything bigger and everything's alright down there. So if you look at the purple line here and how it which is the roll gyro and how it relates to the D term. So I've got way too much D going on here, and or not enough P, and that is what is driving it, the gyro, and that's what's creating the oscillations. If you look here, you can see that the gyro is like really smooth, and you know it's just hanging out here. It's doing its own thing. It's going straight. It's maybe picking up stuff a little bit, but it's just running great. It's running it's doing exactly what it should be doing. Where like up here, you know, it's picking stuff up because there's just too much D or not enough P, and that's what's messing up the gyro there. So that's like the problems of that causes the oscillations. So Odin is, you get Odin by joining the Helio Slack channel. So you go to flyhelio.slack.com, you ask for an invite, you get accepted, and then when you go in, they have a Odin public beta test group. That's what you go into, and that's where you download it. If you can't find it, let me know. Look me up on Facebook or message me here or whatever. Get a hold of me, and I'll just send it to you. I know that, you know, see, this is the problem with open and closed source. Betaflight, see, they have to, every time Betaflight puts out updates, Butterflight and them have to, like, work on updating the stuff to match their stuff, like, no matter what. It's like part of like the rules. So they released a beta version of Odin that I have that's really good, and then now they're like trying to basically rebuild all of it again because things that Betaflight implemented in the master code upset things, and so now they have to go in and rebuild stuff and everything. I don't know. I haven't been on Slack since like Friday morning or something like that. So, like I said, I took a couple days off of it because I got pretty happy with it. And you just don't want to burn yourself out, you know? Like, I spent a good couple days on it, and then all of a sudden, I think it was like Wednesday night I found this, program. I finally decided to get into this Plasmatree, and by Thursday night I was like done. I was happy. Everything was working good. I posted the couple videos showing how awesome it was, and put a couple posts up on Facebook and everything like that. So, and this Plasmatree program really helped out a lot. The guys in Slack, the developers, have been like so hard. Like, I've been with Helio since the beginning. I bought into their system early just because, I follow RS2K wherever he's at, because, he's just awesome. So I bought the controller. I went through like the slow build up period, and then things kind of got good, and they were helping everybody tune. Like, people were asking them so many questions down to the basic level. They did so much that they could, but they're trying to run a business, and they've got a lot of things against them. There was the Bardwell review, and everybody, it was kind of he made a big joke out of it and just kind of shit all over everything. And so those guys are working super hard, and Odin defaults are just great. So go ahead and send me a message, Caden, and I'll send that to you. If anybody wants it that hears this, go ahead and message me here, and I'll make sure that I get you that hex. So, because I have the last corrected hex that's on there, and there's a few instructions that you'll have to do. There's and people are still working, trying to find the best thing. I mean, what I got and what I have flying now is awesome, but somebody else is going to find something great. Like with Odin, I didn't even have to touch W's, and I barely had to adjust my Q values. In RC8, I was talking to one of the testers who ran crazy Q values on his reverb and loved it, like Q values at 9,000 on all axes, and I did it. And I posted a couple videos of the reverb back then on RC8 that were awesome. So, there's a lot of people really putting a lot of stuff into this and doing good, and they want everybody to have a good experience. So, I mean, I don't work for them. I don't get a dime from them or nothing. So I'm just trying to help people out. I honestly like to keep things plain and simple these days and keep everything the same. I got 2 Protons that are built exactly the same with Bardwell flight controllers. I've got 2 Epic 5.5 inches that are built completely the same with old Motolab Tempest F4s, just because they work. Running Betaflight 3.2.1. It's the only thing that I really play around with and dilly around with anymore is this Helio thing, because it's just you'll just drive yourself crazy doing all that stuff, whether you want to call it hype train or whatever you want to call it. But so I mean, that's pretty much a good example of what's going on there. And then if we go back to what we were talking about earlier, if we do the custom graph where we do set point, pitch, and then gyro pitch, you can see in this instance everything is pretty good. It's all right there where we want it to be. And if we zoom all the way in, we don't have a super crazy line at all. So let's go back and look at, I want to try to find one that looks bad. You know, pitch always looked good anyway. Let me change it to roll. All right. So yeah, see, there's that roll access, and it's not following it a whole lot. So there's definitely some P going on. And then if we add in roll D, this is where you're gonna see, you know, tons of D in there. And if look how it's following that. So that's like where my oscillations and stuff like that are coming from when I was doing it here. And then if we add in roll P, you know, roll P is really not like that active. It's not like doing a whole lot because it's barely, you know, it's barely outside of the D and the gyro. So what and all do I gotta do? What do you mean, Ryan? What's up, man? What do you gotta do to get like Odin, or what do you gotta do? Or does this tell you what numbers to put in? This will tell you what numbers to put in right here. Like, it's not going to tell you put in a P of like 55. It's going to say you put in a P of 55 on roll and you're overshooting a little bit. That means that you need to bring it down. So, you know, like if we're looking at, this is a bad example. Let's go back to, let me pull up like one of my middle of the road ones. Alright, so this was the log number 6. So I'm at 50, 40, and 11, 60, 45, 14, 80, 60, and 8. So I wasn't getting a super sharp increase here, so I bet I upped my P value because I still had room to grow. I probably left P the same here and maybe changed I a little bit. And then over here I definitely raised P and raised I. So this is reverb number 6. So let's look at 7. Alright. So 50, 40, 11. 60, 40, 16. 70, 20, 42, 18, 90, 70, and 8. So then let's see what I did on number 8. Alright, so there's 7. And here is 8. So on 7, on 8, all I did was raise P. I raised D some more, and I raised I some more. So, and it didn't have a good effect because if we look at 16D, this doesn't look too bad here. But then when I went to 20, well, that doesn't look too bad either. 23. Huh. Now, what did I do with 9? So you can see how it is. You just kind of like work it up. You just keep working it up a little bit once you get it like close. So, okay, so I left D's the same this time. And then I started raising P's. So I went to 70 and I went to 80. And I kept going up down here. So this doesn't look too bad. It's not like overshooting. It's not like signy. You know, same thing here. It's not overshooting like the 125. It's not like a sine wave. It's kind of cool. It looks all right. So then I just basically kept on going, I think. Yeah, so I bumped it up too. So 62, 72, and then I kept on working on the yaw as well. And then eventually this is what I settled on right here, which might not look the best on here, but I know that it's close because of the way everything felt and all the rest of that kind of stuff. So if we look at, hopefully the video plays pretty good. Trying to think if this is, so this should have been like the first, maybe the first video. I'm not sure which one it is. What was that? 186. So I think I'm just kind of cruising around, testing things out and everything like that on that one. So let's see, 186, 199. See, my goggles didn't record everything either. That's the bad part. Alright. Okay. So here's my proton. Here's my 5.5-inch proton. So watch how this thing flies. Like here, this is like the very first flight, and you know, I could really never control this 5.5-inch 5S like here in my front yard. Like I have to be like very careful, you know, look at my throttle percentage and stuff. Like I'm not doing like nothing crazy. I'm kind of, you know, getting out of control, going over into the field here to like kind of play around and stuff, and doing some yaw spins to like collect data. Like I'm just flying around logging stuff and collecting data and everything like that. So, but I mean, you can kind of see how things go. You can even see like some jello in there, even within this. So if we go and look at the last video that I shot with it, so it should be, if I'm not mistaken, a lot better, a lot more controlled, like a lot more aggressive. Like you can just tell like right in the corners, you know, like how much better and how much like more how it stops just better, and it's just more controllable. And it's just like that thing that everybody says. It's like, oh, you know, you gotta feel it. You can't really see it. But I mean, look at that, like stopping on a dime, flying over through here. Like I never could fly back through here like this. Like I didn't have that much control. And I mean, I've flew a little bit more lately, but nothing to like help me out. This is all like tuning, you know. That's like really what this is doing. So hopefully that came through pretty good. So I don't know. I mean, that's pretty much it. When you get off this, yeah, that's fine. I'll be up, man. You can do the hit me on the Facebook like call thing. That's fine. So I have no problem with that. So I mean, does anybody else, anybody that's watching, have any questions at all about it? Yeah, you definitely want to get those logs, man. Those logs are key. And then you can just start piping them into that thing and see what's happening. Yeah, Messenger sounds good. Might be about done here anyway. I mean, what I want to do is probably some like real videos that actually show like an actual process. I'll go ahead and should just be my name, I believe. Be in Gallion, Ohio. Yeah, I've hooked a couple of my buddies up with it, and and you know what's great is they're all race flight guys. They're all tired of like Flight 1 now because it's no good. They all bought Helios because they're like, race flight was great when RS2K was there, and you know, guess what? Like now they're like flying Helio, and they're like, oh, like it's what race flight should have been. You know, that's basically what they're saying. So, and I was a convert too. I remember flying race flight for the first time, compared to like the old beta flight stuff. I felt a difference. I wasn't nowhere near the pilot I am now. I mean, that was only like 14, 15 months ago, and I'm not a super great pilot at all, but flying good shit really helps. So, Caden, I got your message here, man. All right, well, we'll go ahead and cut it short. Everybody's dropping off, so we'll talk to you guys later, and you know, we'll do some more of this. Tune in and live stream. Thanks, guys.